Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name is Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Al, how are you?
I'm doing good. We're recording this a couple days early. It's Friday. TGIMFNF.
Yeah, I know you talk about that all the time, but the people listening really don't care what day it is that we're recording this.
Well, it's TGIMFNF.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So it's only fair to say that. So welcome to whatever day it is that you're listening to us, Allison. And we really appreciate you. If you can go ahead and give us a review down there somewhere, or like or subscribe, depending what platform you're on, we'd greatly appreciate that. And if by the end of this you like our little show here, you can go ahead and get some more bonus episodes. We'll tell you how at the end.
Lots of bonus episodes.
Yeah. So real quick, I wanted to get something off my chest here. Folks, you need to kind of listen to this. So I walked in from work the other day, and I came in, and Allison was sitting on the couch researching, as she is so often, all the time.
As per usual.
Yep. And I came in and I took off my glasses. I was just like, yeah, well, I'm telling her about my day, and she's like, you should wear your glasses less. You should get contacts. And I was like, no, keep in mind, I've worn these glasses for like 10 years, I think.
I don't think it's been that long. Maybe about 5-6 years consistently.
Yeah. And she was just like, you should get contacts. I'm like, okay, great. So I look like crap basically with glasses on.
No.
Or these glasses look like crap. But like you were just like, and then I actually looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do look a lot younger with the glasses off.
I think you look handsome either way. It's just a nice change sometimes to wear glasses, sometimes to wear contacts.
Now, the problem is I don't want to have to deal, like you always say it's not a big deal. And then I always hear you like, oh, my contacts are just so dry. Oh, I got something in my eye, the allergies. Oh, boy. I swear I got to change them in 14 days, but it's only been 12.
No, not at all. It's only a problem when the allergy season is through the roof or if I'm coming to the end of the month where I have to change them. And they're 30-day contacts.
And then I get into this whole like subscription thing where I got to like always be on the hook for money. And everybody know, listeners know I'm pretty cheap
as hell.
Yeah.
He's buying movie tickets for Beetlejuice, and I'm like, oh, the fees. It's like, just buy the damn tickets.
Okay, I know everybody can agree with me here. The fees, like when you go online to buy something, they're like online convenience fee. It's like, oh my God, you'd rather me go and buy something from a human being that you're paying $20 an hour to, like that, and I'm saving you money and time and I get to pay for it? Like, this is insane.
And then I'm hearing all about this damn snack pack that the kids could get. I'm like, whatever, just buy the tickets.
You were thinking that, but you were just nodding. You're like, oh,
it comes with the drink and popcorn and fruit snacks.
It is really bad because I overanalyze every purchase.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I want to take my head and just put it through a wall.
Yeah. And you'd probably just...
and end the suffering.
Right. I don't blame you for that whatsoever.
Hashtag this is 22 years of marriage.
Speaking of suffering, I was getting all the podcasts ready to go and everything, and I noticed that there's a shower head sitting right next to the computer that we record everything. And I've had this shower head for 3-4 months.
Oh my gosh, this is a life I live.
I'm surprised you've never said anything
Every time I walk in this damn room, I look at that damn shower head and think,
why don't you say anything?
Oh, add it to the list. The Dyson cordless vacuum that has been needed to be mounted on the wall of the laundry room for 2 months.
It fell off the wall.
Hashtag this is life with Mike Pernecki.
Why is everything a hashtag? We're talking in real life. Stop
Everything
hashtagging.
Gets done at a snail's pace.
Yeah, not everything. Sometimes I get a bug in me, like I got the mulch all done. I got the garbage all cleaned out of the garage after like a year of keeping it there.
You have like some weird rash or bug bites on your legs.
I thought I had monkeypox for a second.
So gross.
I was like, it looked like seriously like chicken pox, like little dots all over my leg. And I felt it in the shower, and I was like, using my loofah and loofing it up, and I was just like, ooh, that hurts. And it was just like, beep, 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 all over my leg. So it's gone now. I looked at it this morning.
Good. No monkeypox?
No, I think it was just, here in Florida, there's a lot of like fire ants, and they eat the hell out of everybody.
But wouldn't you feel yourself getting bitten?
Yeah. Well, I don't really have pain receptors, I don't think. So it's like, I've just like learned to kind of just ignore pain. So it's just like a feeling. It's like, oh, that itches, and I just ignore it.
Okay, Mike. Yeah. Life with you is interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So Amazon addiction, Allison's Amazon addiction. We're segueing over to that topic right now because I'm wearing them right now. I got some new Doc Marten boots, and they say to wear some thicker socks with them. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get some thicker socks. And I was worried they'd be too tight or itchy or something like that, but these socks are like a warm hug on your feet.
And if you're a person that buys those, what are the name of them? Bomboras or whatever?
Bombas.
So one of our best friends orders Bombas, I think, for like special occasions, like for
maybe
gifts,
Christmas or something.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not paying freaking $30 for socks, man.
It might be 40.
I think she sent me a link and she was like, hey, buy these for Allie. I'm like, nope, not happening.
Not happening.
Absolutely not.
But these are not expensive. I got them on Amazon. I think maybe it was 4 pair or something like that. But if winter's coming, and if you've got some boots or you just want cozy socks for around the house, we'll link these socks. They're fabulous.
Yeah, and
I love them.
Meanwhile, there's like a Bamba executive listening, and they're like, "Oh, we were going to offer them a sponsorship, but not anymore."
Nice job, Mike.
You know what, Bamba? I wouldn't have taken it because I'm only going to advertise things that are okay by us.
Nice job, Mike.
I'm not
burning bridges left
I'm not
and
telling
right.
our listeners to buy something that I wouldn't buy.
Oh, Lord.
So there you go.
All right. So are you ready to get started on
I'm
this?
ready.
All right. So this is a story that I happened to find when I was going to watch Below Deck on Peacock, and it popped up. I had yet to hear about it. So this is the story of a YouTube site or page called 8 Passengers, and it is the twisted story of Ruby Franke. So as many of us do in our free time, downtime, we're relaxing on the couch, we're scrolling through social media, we're looking at the smiling, picture-perfect images. And oftentimes, though, much of what you do see online on social media could be an illusion. Just a brief moment in time, a little clip of what's happening amongst a full life in somebody's world. And, there's a lot going on outside of the range of that camera that we don't have privy to see. So you're likely judging your own life in comparison to the images of what you're seeing. Oftentimes, like I said, these images can look like perfection.
And it makes you feel bad. And then by the end, you're like, why do I feel like crap? Because I was looking at everybody's perfect life.
Mm-hmm. You're looking at a gorgeous, tidy home, children that are wearing trendy, unblemished clothing, exotic travels to places you've yet to go. But these are just the carefully selected images the creator is choosing to share with the world as they present the best versions of their lives during their highest moments. People aren't posting images of themselves laying on the couch after a rough day at work, binge watching your latest Netflix show, your house in disarray, maybe the sugary bowl of cereal you had that night for dinner. We're not posting that. The arguments we might be having with our kids and spouses.
Well, I got to win the argument. I can't post on Instagram while I'm doing it.
So basically what it comes down to is that we're not privy to what happens after the camera is gone. And in some cases, what we see is not truly reality in a person's world.
Well, most cases.
So Ruby Franke was well known for her popular YouTube channel, 8 Passengers. And this is where the Utah wife and mother of 6 used her platform to discuss parenting. She documented her family life alongside her husband, Kevin.
Mormon?
Yes.
Okay.
So those that followed her channel initially saw her as a charismatic, beautiful social media personality. But as time went by, viewers grew concerned with her harsh forms of discipline towards her children. Despite these concerns, followers never fathomed the depths of her dark, sick, and violent side. In December 2023, the 42-year-old went on to plead guilty to 4 felony counts of child abuse and is now serving up to 15 years in prison. So this is a bit of a trigger warning. There is some child abuse talked about in this case. So if that's something you don't want to hear, I understand, and you can move on to a different episode of ours. So Ruby was born in Utah in January of 1982, where she grew up within the Mormon church with 3 sisters and 1 brother. Ruby met her husband, Kevin Franke, when she was 18. He was 21. Kevin went on to become a professor of engineering at BYU, Brigham Young University. And Ruby always expressed that truly her goal in life was to get married, start a family, have a lot of children, and basically be a stay-at-home mom to, tend to her family. So soon this started to come to fruition. She and Kevin got married, and then they started having a family and ended up having 6 children. So the children were born between March of 2003 and September of 2013. And in 2023, Sherry was 20, Chad was 18, Abby 16, Julie 14, Russell 12, and Eve 10. And the family were devout Mormons. They were members of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And their family life really revolved very heavily around, religion. It was a big part of their family dynamic. So in January of 2015, Ruby had the idea to start a YouTube channel, and she went on to name it 8 Passengers because there were 8 members of their family. And soon she and Kevin rose to internet fame as she documented their hectic daily lives with six children under 12 years old. So in their very first video, Ruby, who was surrounded by her children, they were standing in their family kitchen. They were cutting into a cake that would reveal the gender of their last and final baby, which ended up being pink icing because they had a girl. So at its height, 8 Passengers had more than 2 million subscribers. It gave viewers a glimpse into their world as they raised, disciplined, and went on to homeschool their children. So the family lived in Springville, Utah, and Ruby described the purpose of her vlogging as a way to let my heart rate come down and just enjoy being with the kids as they are right now. And she wanted other moms who were in the thick of raising their babies, I should say, like in the middle of the night, you're not sleeping, you're nursing, you're washing clothes, you're up to your eyeballs in responsibilities, to know that at the end of the tunnel, there was light there. You know, it's not going to last forever, and that all the effort was worth it. So as she was starting her, YouTube channel, that was her goal. So Ruby was a gorgeous woman. She had a beautiful home. She had beautiful children. She had a loving husband. And those that watched saw a picture-perfect classic American life. It was clear to her viewers that she was a strong disciplinarian. That was no doubt, even from the beginning. And as time went on, the channel's popularity grew. So did viewers' concerns over the couple's harsh parenting styles. And everybody parents differently. Some people are more lax. I'd say we're on the more laid back side of things.
Absolutely.
For sure. And they say, don't judge. But things started to happen that warranted people getting concerned. So one video showed her young son looking for his misplaced socks outside, and he was young. I'd say he was maybe 6. So when he found them, she ordered him to drop and give me 10. And another, she scolded her very young daughter, maybe 3, maybe 4, for cutting household items. And as she told the child, that this is wrong, she was holding a little blue stuffed animal in her hand. And this was her child's beloved stuffed animal that she just adored. And she warned her daughter, if you cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to take the scissors and cut its head off. So people did not appreciate what they were seeing.
Yeah.
An influencer, Kendra Lee Bryan, saw a mother who was exploiting her own children for her personal gain. Many of the videos depicted Ruby filming private moments with her children that could really be perceived as humiliating because in many of these, she was disciplining them for something they had done wrong. And of course, millions of viewers are watching these interactions and videos, and these children are far too young to consent to having their image out there and their lives documented out there. So 4 years into documenting their lives, Ruby had made probably more than $2 million due to the views and sponsorship on their YouTube channel. As Ruby's son Chad entered his teenage years, she and Kevin met a woman named Jody Hildebrandt who lived in the affluent city of Ivins, Utah. This is about 260 miles or 418 kilometers south of where they were living in Springville. And, so basically, this woman that they're contacting, she's the founder of a program that she created in 2007, and this program is called Connections. It's not spelled as you would think it would be. There's an X in the middle, and it was basically offering counseling to families, individuals, and couples. The company was extremely successful. Jody was estimated to be worth more than $4 million. Ruby and Kevin sought out her professional help to deal with what they described as their teenage son Chad's behavioral issues. So after providing counseling services to Chad, Jody moved on to provide marriage counseling to Ruby and Kevin, and she went as far as moving into the family home.
Wow.
And as time passed, Jody and Ruby were just spending more and more time together. In August 2019, when Chad was 14, Kevin and Ruby sent him to the Anazi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program, And what this is an outdoor behavioral health program for kids that are between 12 and 17 that are struggling with defiance, family conflict, mental health, and lack of motivation. And really, a lot of teenagers would probably fall into these, defiance and lack of motivation. They're teenagers, you know?
Yeah. And if it's extreme, that's when you think about it. But like, it's kind of a blessing when teens are defiant. It's good for them to have their own voice. Obviously, it gets really frustrating for those of us with teenage, kids, but it's kind of good because you don't want them just to do whatever your parents say. And then all of a sudden they're just like little lemmings,
Because when they go into the world, they're going to have a voice and an opinion. Our big thing in our house is I treat you with respect. I expect you to treat me with respect. Yeah. We all get snappy here and there, but we want kindness and respect as a baseline. So Ruby indicated that Chad would be spending 10 weeks living in the mountains of Arizona. She never really specified why they made this decision. Kevin indicated that over the years, things had just accumulated. They felt that he needed to mature. So a video posted in February of 2020 depicted Ruby in her car as she told viewers that she had received a text message from her then 6-year-old daughter Eve's kindergarten teacher. And the kindergarten teacher had texted Ruby letting her know, hey, Eve forgot her lunch. She doesn't have a lunch at school. Can you please drop it off for her? So Ruby is telling the camera that she responded to the teacher that Eve was responsible for making her lunch in the morning and she would just have to go hungry as a result of forgetting her lunch. She elaborated that she hoped that none of her daughter's classmates would share any of their food with her since she would not learn from her mistakes in that way. And she said, my hope is that she'll be hungry. She'll come home and go, oh man, that was really painful being hungry all day. I'll make sure to always have my lunch for me. So a lot of people had opinions about that.
No, that's not my method, but at the same time, it's not, the one meal missed isn't a huge deal to me.
It's not how I roll. That's just me. I would not let my kindergartner, we all forget things. Sure. I'll sometimes drive away and be like, damn it, my coffee.
Yeah.
It's called being human. Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't like beat her for it or anything, but I'd be like, well, you were hungry, right? So now let's learn. I'd do that. Well, it'd still happen. I've driven the, food over to places all the time, but I could, okay.
Kids are at school for over 7 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My kindergartner is not going to not eat at school while she sits among her classmates. That's just me.
Yeah, that's fine.
So in another video, Ruby explained that she had taken some of her children's prized possessions, including her son's homework, and she was planning on throwing them all in the garbage if they did not buy them back from her or earn them back by doing chores. Ruby held up a garbage can that was filled with her kids' belongings and explained that they needed to learn the value of their items. The camera panned to her son, Chad, who was sitting at the kitchen table. He looked horrified, and he was basically saying, you just threw my homework away. And Kevin added, this is of course the husband, that whatever was not claimed by the end of the day would be thrown away.
So they're both on the same page here.
Yes.
Wow.
So the video got more than 5.7 million views. Many of the viewers were outraged and commented about their disgust with the situation. Many also voiced concerns of potential abuse that was going on within the household. So in another video from 2021, Ruby explained that she and Kevin decided that their 2 youngest children would not be getting Christmas gifts that year because of long patterns of selfishness. She elaborated, we told them that this year they are not going to be visited by Santa. We prepped them. We let them know that on Christmas morning, their 4 older siblings will be getting Christmas presents to open, and they will have the gift of love from their dad and I. And she said that they were keeping them home from school and having them clean the house as punishment, but that hadn't worked. So Ruby was still posting multiple times a week to 8 passengers, and criticism began to emerge as videos drew suspicions of abuse and exploitation from viewers. Local child protective services were reportedly called in June of 2020 after a change.org petition called on the family to be investigated. The petition referenced a now deleted video of 15-year-old Chad. It says now deleted. I saw it, so it is on different, avenues. So basically, Chad is saying that he had slept on a beanbag chair for 7 months as part of a punishment after he played a prank on his younger brother. In the video, Ruby is sitting on the couch between Chad and another one of her children, and he explained that he had not slept in his room since October. In the video, Ruby is laughing as he's telling the story, and she said, "I don't think our viewers knew that." So viewers were outraged by this video, and 1 week later, the petition was started by a concerned viewer or group of viewers, and soon they gathered nearly 20,000 signatures. So she and Kevin defended their actions because, of course, people are commenting and, voicing their disgust about the situation. So she's defending, and her husband are defending their actions. And they explain that therapists and psychological professionals recommended that Chad and 10-year-old Russell, who had been sharing a bedroom, be separated due to a series of incidents between them. She argued that she offered Chad a pull-out guest bed, an inflatable air mattress, or a beanbag. He chose the beanbag. So she went on to say that she and Kevin taught their children to be self-governing, and they always had a choice in everything. And according to Ruby, Chad could sleep in his brand new bedroom and get his bed back when he started behaving better. And according to her, it had taken him 7 months to choose to do so.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
So Utah's Division of Child and Family Services visited the Franke home, but the case was closed due to unsupported claims. The Springville Police Department was aware of concerns about the children's safety and their well-being, which they did look into. According to Lance Haight, this is the chief of police for the Springville PD, there were no findings of criminal conduct at that time. Officer Haight indicated that the children's physical needs were being met and they were not being physically abused. And this all started with that petition that was signed that they went over to the house to assess the situation. So in order to control the critics, basically what Ruby and Kevin did was they just disabled the comment section from their social media channels. They hired a lawyer to start sending cease and desist letters to vloggers that were, commenting about what was going on. Viewership and sponsorship did start to dwindle at this point. In the end, Ruby ended up posting over 1,200 videos before she just suddenly stopped without any warning in January of 2022. The last video she posted was of her youngest daughter's baptism, and then that was it. So throughout her 7 years as a YouTube star, there were many, many concerns voiced. So the channel ended, like I said, in January of 2022. And then Ruby separated from Kevin by the summer of 2022, so that same year. And he was basically asked to leave the family home. Ruby soon began collaborating with a new business partner, and life coach. This is their former counselor. This is Jody Hildebrandt. So on the Connections website, Ruby was listed as a certified mental fitness trainer because, of course, she's collaborating with Jody.
Sure.
So while working for Jody's counseling company, Connections Classroom, she and Jody provided parenting seminars. They launched another YouTube channel. They posted content to their shared Instagram account. This was called Moms of Truth. And here they gave advice specifically to LDS moms who were struggling to discipline their children. And despite their collaboration, Ruby later denied that she was Jody's business partner. She claimed to have never received a paycheck from the company, but you could see that they were collaborating together. Most time people don't do that for free when Jody, meanwhile, is making money.
Well, and then when you're lying, you always say like, well, I never received a paycheck from her company. It's like you received a paycheck from something because of your association with her. So yeah, you were really partners.
Exactly. So during one Connections video, Ruby was asked why she suddenly ended her YouTube channel. This is 8 Passengers. She indicated that she wanted to save her kids because they were being hurt by the constant advice being given by their followers. So Jody and Ruby spoke about how nothing within a child's life was their own, and this included their privacy or any other belonging. And according to Jody, if you've graciously given them a room, that room is yours. It is not theirs.
Man, what a power-hungry piece of crap.
Oh, man.
Jody sucks.
She sucks.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't do any of the research, but I can already tell you.
She sucks so bad.
And Ruby's sounds pretty bad, too.
Awful. So viewers from 8 Passengers watched these videos and felt deeply concerned about the way that Ruby spoke about the evil that sat inside children.
Oh, evil inside of children?
Evil in children.
The only evil they learn is from adults.
Right.
And also, is there like a romantic relationship between these two?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So her parenting style and technique seemed wildly more extreme than they had previously been, and people were criticizing her on 8 Passengers for being such a strict disciplinarian. So she's only greatly escalated since that time. So viewers were speculating, odds are this has to be as a result of spending a lot of time with Jody, because since she's gotten even more hardcore. So as people began to look into Jody's past, they were deeply concerned, and former clients of Jody's described her program as extremely isolating. She would gear to isolate them from their loved ones, which would go on to destroy marriages, which is ironic because she was there to help marriages.
Breaking up families and making children hate their parents is what she's doing.
And that's exactly what happened with Kevin and Ruby. She's moved into the Franke household to help, and they ended up getting separated. So great job, Jody. So one client indicated that during a men's group meeting, Jody was completely out of line and inappropriate and outed his friend in front of the group of men, despite the fact that this man had not chosen at that point to come out.
Gay?
Yes. Oh. So she took that from him, and the friend said she basically nearly destroyed this guy. And it was at this point this guy was fed up. The client stood up and confronted Jody and said, there is something inside of you that is evil.
Oh, absolutely. She's evil incarnate. And I'm sure maybe her past was pretty bad too, but that doesn't give you an excuse to be a piece of garbage.
So during a video that Jody recorded solo, it was so gross. She said, men and men can marry, women and women. When that law was passed, it opened the floodgates for every other devious, vile, sexually permissive, and destructive behaviors to be engaged upon. She's just a bad person.
Yeah, I think she's kind of fighting her own demons.
I believe so.
She's probably attracted to the same sex and hates it.
Possibly. So another time, Jody even had her professional license suspended after she discussed confidential client information to members of the church without her client's consent. I mean, she's outing people. She's discussing patient clients,
well, she's not
confidentiality, but still, as a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever, counselor, you have confidentiality. So 7 former clients who used her services between 2008 2019 indicated that Jody encouraged them to cut off others who were not living in accordance with her teachings. One client indicated that Jody believed that if you were following her ways, you were living in truth. And she wanted her clients to only associate people who were also living in truth. And according to 29-year-old Stephanie Jones, you were not allowed to have a differing opinion from Jody's. And she started to get this feeling like Jody's teachings were very cult-like.
I was just going to say, this sounds like she's starting her own cult.
Yes. So former clients were all active members of the church at the time that they were being counseled, and indicated that Jody took an extreme approach. And that's the big thing. Like the LDS church is like, these are not our practices. This woman is her own entity.
Yeah.
So she took an extreme approach to LDS lessons and teachings, which revolved around concepts, and she was big on this, truth and deception, and how people lived in distortion. action when they allowed their wants, needs, and experiences to impact their commitments to the truth. So despite Jody's extremely bizarre cult-like concerning practices, her life coaching business was really successful, and it afforded her a sprawling home in Ivins, Utah that was more than 9,000 square feet. So in early 2023, Ruby took her youngest children out of school and began to homeschool them. And neighbors within the Springville area of their home immediately felt the shift and noticed the change. They no longer saw the Franke children outside playing within the neighborhood. They were used to seeing the kids riding around on their scooters, walking the family dog together.
Having fun, being children.
No longer happened. It just stopped, and it seemed to happen very quickly.
So I think they're going to move over to being employees that aren't paid.
So Jody had been staying in the Franke home, like I had said before. However, she and Ruby transitioned to staying in Jody's $5 million Ivins home over 3.5 hours south of Springville. Sometimes she left her children behind, and by this time, Ruby's 19-year-old daughter had severed all ties from her parents because of her mom's increasingly concerning behavior.
It's pretty mature for a 19-year-old.
Very much so. So it got so bad that in September of 2022, she ended up calling 911 out of concern for her siblings. And in the call, she said, "My 4 younger siblings are living in Springville, and my neighbors have been telling me that they have been left home alone for about 4 or 5 days." So Ruby's daughter asked, if officers could go over to the home and do a welfare check. And at that point in time, the youngest of the Franke children would have been about 8 years old at this time. The next one maybe around 12. So the officer went to the home and knocked on the door and saw children inside the house, but the children didn't answer the door. So over the course of a couple of weeks, officers made 5 attempts to revisit the home and make contact, but each time the children didn't answer the door. So according to the chief of police, there wasn't enough evidence for the court to grant a search warrant. So the children were just home alone.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the laws are, because I think a lot of states, there's no real age when kids have to have somebody home. I guess it's up to their discretion.
That is so insane to me to think that a handful of younger kids could be home alone for 5 days at a time.
How old were the oldest ones that were home? Teenagers.
Probably 14, 15-ish.
And maybe back in the 40s, 50s, that'd be kind of normal, right? I mean, maybe not for days on end, but
days on end.
As long as they have food and water, that's kind of the minimum.
Well, they don't
right?
know.
Right.
They have no idea what's going on in that house. None at all. So on August 30th, 2023, this was the big one. So another 911 call comes through, and a man from Ivins, so Ivins is where Jody lives, informed officers that a 12-year-old boy had come to his front door asking for help. Ruby's son had climbed out of a window of Jody's home and walked to 2 area homes. Now, this neighborhood, if you Google it, it's sprawling. So it's not like in a typical neighborhood where you could literally stand on your driveway and be like, "Hi, good morning."
A 9,000 square foot house, you got to figure you got a half-mile walk down the driveway and over to the other house.
Right. So these houses are a bit of a hike. Like you even said, the driveway is long itself. So he had gone to 2 previous homes looking for help, but neither resident was home. One of the houses, you could hear music playing on the Ring doorbell. Maybe they didn't hear him. Maybe they just didn't want to answer. So now he's at the 3rd door, and as he prepared to walk away, a man opened the door. And Ruby's son asked for 2 favors: to be taken to the nearest police station. And before he went on to say his second favor, he indicated, "Never mind, 1 favor was fine." The Ring doorbell footage captured the boy ringing the doorbell at 10:46 a.m., and he wore checkered shorts and a blue button-down shirt that sat far too loosely on his extremely thin frame. Oh, this was so heartbreaking. So the man instructed the boy to have a seat and asked him what was going on. And the young boy told him it's personal business. Oh, this poor little boy.
Yeah.
So the boy was emaciated. He was covered in wounds.
Couldn't the police see this when they were looking in to see the kids? They could see them, right?
So I don't know who was home, who was in Ivins versus Springville.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
So this man is clearly seeing that this is exceptionally alarming. There are wounds with duct tape around his ankles and wrists. So the man again set the boy down on the porch chair. He offered him a banana and water before he went on to call authorities. So the man unsuccessfully tried to hold back tears. He was so horrified and shocked by what he saw on the sweet boy's body that as he's explaining to the dispatcher what is going on, he's crying.
Yeah, I mean, any human being, that has met, children or has a heart would be totally heartbroken by this.
So he told the dispatcher that the boy was hungry and thirsty, and the boy indicated that what had happened to him was his fault. He also told the neighbor that he should take him to the jail because he believed that he was in trouble. And remember what Ruby was saying, that children are filled with evil.
Yeah.
So this was something that was being battered into this poor child.
Brainwashed.
So he said that he was being held in Jody's home, and while on the line, the neighbor said, "She's a bad lady. We just didn't realize how bad." Yeah. So this guy knows who Jody is. So the man stayed on the line until the ambulance arrived only minutes later. And as he was on the phone, you could see the woman in the video, I believe it was his wife. She's coming in and out of the house, getting this little boy food, water, whatever he wanted. She's crouched down. She's comforting him, rubbing his arms and stuff. It actually brought tears to my eyes when I was watching this.
He probably hasn't been loved like that in a long time.
Right. So as first responders came to the scene, they saw the state of the boy's wounds, and immediately they're taking turns stepping away to shed tears of grief over what it was that they were seeing. The men paramedics kept their sunglasses on because they were crying by what they saw.
Oh my God.
It just beyond. So the little boy was placed into the ambulance, and paramedics immediately began to treat the wounds on his body as the officers started taking pictures to document what was going on. So as he was questioned as to who did this to him, they're telling him over and over, "You are not in trouble for this. We are here to help you." So as soon as the duct tape and clear plastic were removed from his ankles and arms, the paramedics could immediately see that the flesh was dark in color, it was wet in appearance, and there was a strong, pungent odor coming from these wounds. He told the officers that he had gotten the wounds from a rope that was tied to him while he was on the ground, and it was Jody and his mom, Ruby, who had restrained him. There were extensive muscle and tissue damage on his extremities from the ropes and handcuffs that had been used, and these wounds had been improperly treated with a mixture of cayenne pepper and honey, and then covered back up in plastic wrap and duct tape. As the paramedics tried to carefully remove these things from his body, the plastic wrap and the tape, the boy's skin is coming off with this.
Of course.
So investigators learned that the young boy had tried to escape from the home a month earlier in July, but he was caught, and then his hands and feet were bound with handcuffs. This time, when he was successful in his escape, he told the officers that he needed to get help for himself and his younger sister, who was 9. Officers immediately were dispatched, just right there to Jody's home.
I hope they're still alive,
Right, exactly. They have no idea what's going on. So as he is being treated in the ambulance, officers are going to the home of Jody, and they are repeatedly banging on this insane door. The door itself looks like it weighs 1,000,000 pounds. It's massive and heavy, and they are continuously ringing the doorbell and pounding on the door. Police, police. So when Jody finally opened the door, she was already on the line with her attorney, and she is boldly standing there telling officers, "I will not be stepping out of my house." And officers began to immediately physically remove her from the doorway of her home.
Really?
And a search of the property.
Illegal, or
no.
do they have a search warrant?
So it's called exigent circumstances because this is dire, that there could be a child inside that house dying.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yes. So they found the 9-year-old little girl sitting inside a dark bathroom closet in the pitch black. She was emaciated. Her head was shaved. She sat stoically and silently, and initially she would answer none of their questions. She's traumatized. She trusts nobody. Why would she trust an adult?
Well, she thinks she's like the devil.
Yes. So these first responders were so kind and compassionate. I just had tears like, going down my face as I was watching this.
It sounds like they're like the perfect people to like get into this situation. Thank God for them.
Amazing people, amazing humans. So they sat with this traumatized little girl for hours. I'm talking at least 3 hours to get her to trust them at all.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
And they could tell she must be so hungry. So they sat and they're like, you want something to eat? You want some pizza? It's like, what kid doesn't love pizza?
Yeah.
So they got her some pizza. They got her something to drink until she felt safe enough to start to gradually open up. It's like a little deer that's been hurt.
Yeah.
So, again, they're just gradually gaining her trust.
Meanwhile, hopefully they have Jody face down, like in the concrete in the front.
I don't know how these officers were as patient with these people as they were. I could not do their job. So, they're explaining to the little girl, we're here to help you just like we're helping your brother. We're getting your brother help too. And finally, she felt secure enough to stand and go with the first responders.
Good.
Both children were taken to the hospital, and they ended up staying in the hospital for 3 days to be treated for not only their horrific wounds, but also their dehydration and malnutrition. Ugh. So in the meantime, officers don't know where some of the Franke kids are. So they are urgently dispatched to Ruby's home in Springville, where they had to break through the door to gain entry. They ultimately found the house empty. Investigators were aware of the fact that 2 of Ruby's adult children, who were 18 and 20, they had already moved out. They're accounted for. However, 2 teenagers are unaccounted for. And based on the findings of the 2 little ones, they're fearing the possibility that they could be deceased.
Yep.
So investigators who continued to search Jody's home became increasingly concerned as they came across what appeared to be a vaulted panic room. So it looked like a safe, but it was a full-size door. And they didn't know what could possibly, be behind that door.
They're like, we got to open it and we don't want to see what's behind it.
They're terrified to even know.
Yeah.
So they needed to get a search warrant to get into this room. And in the meantime, they made their way through the compound-like home. This was a very strange home. It's a lot of little random rooms.
Weird.
Just very, very strange.
Did she make it? Like custom made,
A lot of the houses that I looked at on the map look kind of similar. And I'll tell you, it's for sale right now. So you can actually look at it.
Oh, yeah. Go buy it.
So, I can't imagine. No. So these officers, in the meantime, they're waiting for the search warrant to get into this one particular room. But in the meantime, they're going through the compound-like room, or home, I should say, room by room. And when I say room by room, there's a crap ton of rooms. And they're finding many items that are indicative of torture. This includes ropes, adult diapers, duct tape, wound dressings that are saturated in this honey and cayenne pepper mixture. And it's basically saran wrap. They're taking these wounds, spraying these poor babies' open wounds with this mixture that burns to high holy hell, and then wrapping it in saran wrap and covering that in duct tape. So a little over 2 hours later, officers finally got the search warrant to enter this vault-like crazy room. So what they found was a rope and handcuffs and a Murphy bed. So the bed pulled down, and a toilet. And it's just this little room. And it was just there to serve the purpose of holding the children as prisoners.
That is insane, man. I mean, I'm not surprised whatsoever, but man, these 2 women need to burn in hell. First, put them, many, many cuts all over their bodies and put this cayenne pepper and crap directly on them. Like, if we were a proper country, that's what would happen, immediately. And then could watch on YouTube or something like that. And just every time you press a button, they pour more cayenne pepper on them or something like that. What a couple of complete, ghouls and just demons.
So Jody sits down to speak with authorities, and she is very talkative. She did admit that she was nervous.
She's very into herself. She's a narcissist,
She's awful. So she explained that her attorney told her not to say anything and elaborated, I have nothing to hide. She told officers that if they knew all the pieces, they would have empathy for her. Mm-hmm. So for 4 hours after the raid of Jody's home began, suddenly Ruby arrives to Jody's home.
That's what I was wondering. Where the hell is Ruby?
However, the 16-year-old and 14-year-old daughters were not with her, so they still were not accounted for. So she apparently left Jody's home from various phone calls that I heard her saying at like 3 a.m. to go to a dentist appointment.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. I know she had to drive probably back up to Springville, but regardless. So then she comes, she sees all the officers there, and she's like waiting out in her car. And finally she approached the house. And she, on the other hand, sat like a mute. She would not answer any of the police's questions. She would only occasionally give the slightest nod to basic questions. So then she's taken in from the house and brought to an interview room at the station. It was bizarre.
This whole thing's bizarre. Like, it doesn't surprise you anything that's going to happen at this point. It's like, okay, yeah, of course that's how it's going to go.
She was basically like a zombie in the chair, just staring.
Oh, because she's trying to claim that she's crazy. That's why.
So she would occasionally blink when they're asking her. They're like, we want to know your side of the story, Ruby. What's going on?
She's setting up the insanity defense.
Finally, she indicated she would speak once she had a lawyer. And her behavior was so bizarre that as they're taking her from the station to the jail, the officer acted more like I would. He's like, are you okay? He's like, do we need to get you medical attention before we take you? And she's like, no.
Like, clearly something's off. So you got to like start being more of a human being here.
I would be like, what the hell is wrong with you,
like,
you psycho?
Hello.
They were so patient. I don't know how they did it. So meanwhile, Springville officers were alerted to the fact that someone had seen Ruby's 16-year-old daughter earlier that day at a rec center, like a gym, when she was leaving with an adult woman who was not Ruby. So they pulled surveillance from the rec center. They did see her leaving with a woman. This woman ended up living 20 miles north of Springville. So now officers are dispatched to this home. So they arrived. They found that both girls were worried, but they were physically unharmed. Ruby's friend indicated that Ruby asked them to take care of the girls for the evening because she had a family emergency. Of course, she's getting word that this is happening. Mm-hmm. The woman had said that she agreed to watch the girls and just added to the officers that she agreed to watch them because I could use some help cleaning. I don't know. I don't have like other people over to my house to clean.
Especially teenagers.
Yes, everybody does something different.
Yep.
So within hours of Ruby's 12-year-old son ringing the doorbell, both 54-year-old Jody and 42-year-old Ruby were arrested for child abuse. And Ruby's, all of the kids were accounted for. They were either in the hospital because we know 2 were, otherwise in state custody.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret. With Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
In December, both women pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. So as the women were taken to jail, officers continued their extensive search of both homes, both in Springville and Ivins. They found a stack of journals that belonged to Ruby that fully discussed the extent of the abuse that occurred from May to August of 2023.
What an idiot.
Ruby kept full dated documentation of what was going on in that house of hell.
Thank goodness for Ruby being stupid.
So Ruby forced her youngest son and daughter to perform manual labor for hours at a time under the scorching Utah sun. Now, when I say Utah, this is very much like red canyons and things. It's not like the snowy, if you think of like Park City or Salt Lake City.
Or desert.
It's very desert. I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes outside of Vegas.
So I was going to say, I think Vegas.
Yeah. So think Vegas, think red rocks and canyons and things like that. It gets very, very hot there. And these journal entries are happening in the hottest months of the summer. A lot of these were dated in July. So she has got these 2 young kids out in the scorching heat, performing manual labor for hours at a time under the sun, laboring barefoot. As their skin became more and more sunburned, I can only imagine the state of the bottoms of their feet. So their skin was blistered. It was sloughing off. And as a result of the burns, they were regularly denied adequate food and water when you need it the most as you're sunburned. And many nights, they weren't even allowed to sleep in a bed. They were forced to sleep in a concrete bunker in Jody's basement. At times, they were given sedatives. Sometimes they were forced to stand on an incredibly hot cement patio that was outside in the summer heat for hours or even days at a time. If Ruby learned that the children had gotten themselves something to eat or drink without her consent, they would be punished. They were forced to lift and carry boxes, and keep in mind these are very emaciated and their muscles are basically wasted, and they're carrying these boxes up and down the stairs. They're forced to hold wall sit for hours at a time.
Like, it's just constant torture.
Constant.
Like, that's crazy.
They were completely isolated and forbidden to interact with others while they were being denied all forms of entertainment, because basically these 2 women were just breaking their mental spirit down, telling them over and over how evil they are. And if a visitor did come to Jody's home, the children were locked away and hidden, completely unable to interact with any other humans. So they were repeatedly told that they were evil and possessed. They were made to believe that the punishments and torture that they were enduring were necessary to repent. One entry read, "If you can engage a weak-minded soul in physical activity of obedience, you can begin to break the bonds Satan made with the weak." And another, she wrote, "These selfish children who only desire to take, lie, and attack have zero understanding of God's love for them." She also wrote about how her son refused to do any more work and began screaming. You think?
Because he's like hungry, thirsty, and pain.
Burning and pain.
Like, it's like, this is torture. What do you think he's supposed to do?
So when he refused to do more work, she shaved his hair off. And the next day, the entry indicated that this was the time in July that he attempted to run away. This was 1 month before he successfully got out of that house. She wrote that she held her son's head under running water while she covered his mouth and his nose with her hands. She told him that she was trying to save him from the devil, and she justified not providing the children with food as she will not feed a demon. And one entry mentioned that it was her son's 12th birthday, but he didn't even know what month it was. How sad.
Their whole childhood is basically taken away from them, and they're going to be, mentally bruised their entire lives now.
She called her children compulsive liars in her entries, and of her son, she wrote that she would never have suspected the cold, dead heart that he has. And if you could have seen how polite and sweet and kind he seemed on that man's porch, it would just break your heart. In her journal entries, Ruby referred to her daughter as manipulative. She cut off her hair so that it would not be a distraction. She also wrote that she shaved her daughter's head for whining and specified if she's going to act sick, she can look sick. Entries indicated that the women were in search of new property. They were looking for open land in Arizona where these 2 can work, is what she wrote. Jody had already located a 500-acre plot of land. They were planning to use this land to build a ranch. On August 27th, 2023, Ruby wrote about how they were packing up in order to prepare for this move, and it was only 3 days later that the 12-year-old escaped from this house of hell. So they would have been taken away to even probably a much more isolating location and probably would have not been able to get any help whatsoever.
Probably to their death, because it was increasingly horrible every time. And where the hell is the father during this whole thing?
Thank you. And I will tell you that in a moment.
Okay.
So investigators found that extreme religious beliefs motivated the women to inflict these horrendous abuse upon the children and seemed to fully believe that the abuse was necessary to teach the children how to repent for the imagined sins or cast the evil from their bodies.
And let's be clear, that's not, most holy people.
Right.
Most holy people are very, very kind and nice, that are really into their religions and things.
Right.
Obviously, these are the horrible side effects of just having a terrible brain to go along with it.
Right, exactly. So what you just said, where the F is Kevin throughout this horrific abuse? So now investigators track him down.
He better be nailed for the same thing because he was part of it.
He appeared stunned in the interrogation footage when he was informed of his children's poor condition. He indicated that he had not seen his children nor Ruby since July 24th, 2022. This was over 1 year prior. They're explaining the wounds that are found on their children, how emaciated they are. He said, what does emaciated mean?
Is he stupid?
He's a professor at Brigham Young University. You don't know what emaciated means?
Won't be taking his class.
So, well, he was anyway. I don't know if he left that after they started making money with YouTube, but so he's being told, this is really, really bad. They're in the hospital right now. He said, I have not seen them in over a year since I was forced out of my house. He said he chose to trust his wife with the children as part of their separation.
It sounds like laziness and lack of love, in my opinion, but hey, what am I?
He claimed that he had been deceived and Jody had destroyed his family.
You're totally fine with not seeing your old children. Like that is so unbelievable as a dad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to just trust my wife because basically you're saying you're a piece of crap that doesn't love his own kids. That's what you're saying.
I will never understand it.
There's no way you would prevent me from seeing my own kids.
Not a chance. So Kevin elaborated that as soon as Jody moved in with them, his relationship with his wife changed, and he was forced to adhere to certain rules that included in-home separation from Ruby. He was not allowed to enter the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave him permission. He was not allowed at all in the upstairs of his own home.
She became like the master of the house.
Jody and Ruby basically teamed up together, and he was told that he could leave whenever he wanted on his own accord, but he could only return with permission from Jody.
Well, because Jody was in love with Ruby. That's why
Probably.
She wanted her to herself.
So he said that despite the fact that he did all that he could to win Jody's approval, she continuously accused him of being manipulative. He became increasingly isolated, and that was her tactic. And many other patients or clients, I should say, came forward and said it's completely isolating. So he said he was so isolated that he started to question his sanity, and he was ultimately pushed out of his own home and, sequestered away from his own children.
You can't just be like, no, that's not going to happen. You need to get out now. Like, this doesn't work for us as a family. Thanks for your help anyways. Just
and
get
don't
out
let the door hit you on the ass on the way out,
Right.
Jody. So Kevin never faced any charges in this case.
Mm-hmm.
So during her time behind bars, Ruby made several phone calls to Kevin. I was able to listen to this one in particular. So these calls, of course, are recorded. They're coming from the jail. And she basically blamed what was happening on the children, if you can believe that.
Well,
and I know you can.
That's because they're evil little demons.
She specified because they were full of evil. So when Kevin informed her that the children are in the hospital and they will remain there for 3 days, she says, so weird. It's just not necessary. They're trying to exaggerate this.
It's like you can't talk just, facts and logic to somebody like this. They're so far off the deep end.
So
it's just
far gone.
Okay, sounds good. See you later.
So Ruby was originally charged with 6 counts of child abuse because she has 6 children. But because she accepted a plea deal, 2 counts were dropped. Under Utah law, a second-degree aggravated child abuse charge carries a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison. As part of the plea agreement, she had to testify against Jody, which, of course, she was more than happy to do so. She claimed that it was Jody who had influenced her actions.
Fully ado.
Yeah, so that's true. What is it? Madness of 2?
Yeah.
Ruby, Franke, and Jody Hildebrandt pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. And on February 20th, 2024, Judge John J. Walton sentenced them each to serve 4 to 30 years in the Utah State Prison.
So dumb.
This is the maximum sentence for this sort of offense. So what gets me, though, is that had the 12-year-old not escaped, odds are these 2 children would not have survived. So just because he was able to escape prison, it wasn't a murder charge.
Right. It's like, I can get how it's not a murder charge, but maybe let's make the charge for the abuse much worse. Or
so in 4 short years, she might be out.
Yeah, and let's make it I don't know, obviously because of the plea deal, there's probably like something they had to do, like, to get a 3rd degree or 1st degree. I don't know which one's worse or better, whatever. It's just like, man, hopefully it's not just going to be 4 years, but man, it's not enough.
It's not enough. So you might wonder, what do the older kids think of this? Of course, I said that Ruby's eldest daughter called 911. She had already cut ties from her parents at that point in time. So after the arrest, Ruby's oldest daughter, Sherry, took to Instagram. She made a few posts. The final was depicting an image of a police cruiser, and the caption read, "Finally." In another, she wrote that she and her family were relieved that justice was finally being served. She elaborated that they had been trying to tell both CPS and the police about what had been going on in the home. Of course, we know the police did go, they knocked, they saw the children, and that was the extent of it. So Ruby's sisters also posted a statement saying that for 3 years, they had tried everything they could to ensure that the children were safe, but they were trying to balance the situation, keep quiet for the sake of the children, never imagining how bad it had gotten.
Yeah, of course. You could never to any standard regular human being with a beating heart and empathy, like you couldn't imagine the horrors that's happening. Like you're thinking, okay, she's a little tough on the kids, but it'll be fine.
Right. So they clarified that Ruby had separated herself and the children from them despite their best efforts to try to stay connected to the children. But of course, when people are going to try to isolate, they're going to isolate. She's taking them down to Ivan's, to this compound. Nobody knows what's happening at all. So they were unaware that their sister had been subjecting the younger children to this abuse. On Friday, August 30th, 2024, it was the 1-year anniversary of Ruby and Jody's arrests, and 19-year-old Chad Franke posted about it on Snapchat. He depicted a photo of his mom with the caption, "Happy Prisonversary." So then he also posted a video to Instagram on June 17th with the caption, "Got a tattoo of my mom for the summer." So in the video, he's basically like wiping the aftercare lotion off of his arm, and there's just nothing there. So
because he doesn't have a mom. Man, he sounds pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, what are you going to do?
He seems like he has like some talent. Like he seems pretty funny.
So had it not been for Ruby's bravery, of her 12-year-old son's bravery, he and his younger sister likely would not have survived this. We do know they were preparing to move these children to a likely more isolated area in Arizona, and they probably would not have survived much longer if you could have seen the extent of their wounds and just how frail they were.
Yeah.
In November 2023, Kevin Franke filed for divorce from Ruby, and he's been fighting for full custody of his children.
Oh, it's about time, Kev.
So like I mentioned earlier, Jody is Ivan's Utah home. This is, if you want to look it up, it's at 854 West Tagu Court.
Tague?
TAWGOO Court, and it's 854 West Tagu. It is for sale for almost $5 million. It's 4.995.
No thanks.
Very strange house. I could never live in that house knowing what went on in there.
Nope.
But hey, there's something for everybody. Jody's niece came forward. This is Jessie. She spoke out in response to her aunt's arrest. She detailed how she had also been subjected to abuse while she was living in her home.
Probably started like with her.
Right. She was also restrained. She was placed with duct tape around her, and she was forced to sleep outside as well. So this was certainly not a first-time scenario. So if you suspect that child abuse is happening, if you know someone that there's concerns, please call the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-A-CHILD or 1-800-422-4453 or visit www.childhelp.org. These calls are free, they're confidential, and they are available 24/7 in more than 170 different languages. Children deserve love and kindness, not what was happening in this story and sadly so many other households.
Yeah.
And this just happens to be, the case of this story of the two children, but this is the story of the twisted story of Ruby Frank. And I think I just said story about 10 times, so I apologize.
No, it's horrific. And obviously that was the United States number. If you're in a different country, please just Google it, and there's help all over the place. And I always like to say, like, if you're listening to this and it sparks in your head that there's like, yeah, this actually reminds me of my neighbor or my friend or my aunt or uncle or whatever, then just call. Like, it needs to be documented. You can be anonymous. Like, go get a burner phone and call in and say, I don't want to give my name. Like, there's tons of phones out there. You can just buy one at like your local convenience store for $25, just like a drug dealer or something would. Not that I'm a drug dealer, wink, wink. But seriously, go, please report anything you can. And I mean, you can save a child, right?
Yeah. And I know it's hard because you might think like, oh, I don't want to overstep my boundaries. It's not my business. Like, that's always a thing. Or like, oh, I don't know. Maybe they're just harsh parenting. But, people did voice a lot of concern throughout the years that 8 Passengers was on YouTube. A lot, to the point that they got that petition. They had Child Protective Services go and look. Like, people did call.
Yeah, but keep on. So are you saying they shouldn't call?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's sad that it went to this extreme before these poor children ended up getting help.
Absolutely. And I need to be reminded that burner phones are also for people that are traveling to different countries. Somebody told me that once. They're like, you said it's for drug dealers, but people that are moving different countries, they just want a phone and then throw it away when they come back.
That makes sense.
So it's anybody. I didn't mean just drug dealers. That was a joke I made. I'm sorry.
Well, it wasn't a funny one, Mike.
I know. I'm going to try to make funny jokes next time. So I told you, in the beginning, you could get some bonus episodes, and that's absolutely true. If you're an Apple person, have an iPhone, you can get a free 3-day trial to our subscription service. So we have like 60 different bonus episodes. You can binge them.
I think we might be up to like 80 or so bonuses.
80 or so, and go ahead and binge them all as much as you can. And then, you can also become a patron. So go ahead and do that, or leave us a little like 5-star review, or a comment or a like on our YouTube or Instagram. All that stuff helps us out quite a bit.
Yeah, and we just appreciate you guys being here, listening, and supporting us. And we will be back on Sunday with another episode. And until next time, bye.
Ready to buy a car, a home, or just want to take control of your money? Your FICO score matters, and 90% of top lenders use it to make decisions. Check your FICO score for free today without hurting your credit score. Visit myfico.com/free or download the MyFICO app today. MyFICO gives you the score lenders use most, plus credit reports and real-time alerts to help keep you on top of your credit. Visit myfico.com/free and take the mystery out of your FICO score.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.